we're talking about a sterile culture. We're talking about the parallel between sterility in terms of you're sterile as a person. You can't reproduce. There's dead there. There's death there. There's antibiotic or against life there. And then the idea of a sterile setting, like a hospital, where superbugs, as we just covered, can proliferate, antibacteria resistant strains. And what an antibiotic is, anti-against, biota, life. It's like the yin-yang, the opposite of a probiotic for life. And so we have this duality. We see duality everywhere. In the entirety, right? There's day and there's night, there's black and there's white, there's good and there's bad, there's wrong and there's right. And so there's antibiotics and probiotics. They balance each other out. And a natural system, whether that's an ecosystem on the planet like a forest, or whether that's your gut, should be balanced. But because of our overexposure to the atomic bombs of antibiotics today, our gut is a bit tipped, it's imbalanced. And so because of this, it's a direct link into our immune system and lack of immunity. Right? Our immune system is not protected through this beautiful tropical forest. And so the earth biome and our human biome are actually quite parallel in terms of how they function. And so I'm going to take you into agriculture, and I know this sounds crazy, right? We're on a health program. Why are we talking about agriculture unless we're talking about food plants? But today things are grown in what's called a monoculture. Have you heard of that? So a monoculture is when you have one field. Give me a crop, any crop, name it.
Wheat.
Wheat, okay, it's not a real plant, right? Name another one. I reject wheat, what else?
Corn.
Corn, okay, that's also one that's been hybridized.
Cabbage.
Okay, cabbage, very good. So we'll take cabbage, okay, and imagine a field of cabbage upon cabbage upon cabbage upon cabbage. It's all cabbage. There's nothing else growing there. Between the rows are empty, right? It's just dirt. Well then, one of these superbugs comes around. Maybe it's a soil virus, right? Maybe it's a plant virus. Maybe it's an actual pest. And they eat cabbage. What's going to happen? Yeah. The whole cabbage crop is going to really be super vulnerable to the effect of the pest, whatever it was, or the superbug. Okay, well now imagine that you had more of a mixed cropped or an intercropped field. Right, so you have some cabbage, maybe you have some potato, maybe you have, I don't know, what else would grow with that? Carrots, maybe you have a few flowering plants, you have some herbs growing on trees, whatever it is. It's like, wow, that looks a little bit like a forest. You see that? The intermixing of all the crops. So now, your superbug comes along, same pest, and he starts to eat the cabbage, but then there's so much in his way, and he doesn't have easy access. It's not a clean slate. So you see how even if the cabbage goes, there's still life there? And so, if you can understand that on a farm setting, let's put that in our own gut. All right, now we have literally trillions of bacteria in our body. We are more bacterial than we are DNA. And we're just at the tip of finding this out in science. And yet, what do we do all the time? Almost. We throw down these atomic bombs, creating that desolate space. Antibiotics kill off not only the bad bacteria, but also the good bacteria. And so we're left with that clean slate, or like that cabbage field, that monoculture, where there's lack of life. Yeah? And who's taken antibiotics in their life? Okay, 2 of you haven't. I want to meet your mothers.
Ever?
Ever?
I mean, we don't
Of course I have.
child.
I have.
Yeah, okay.
But I've never
Okay.
taken the
Truth
course
comes
as
out.
such.
In your life, I mean, I've taken it 10 years, but last at least 15 years, I don't remember.
Okay, that's fantastic. Right? That's fantastic. But wait a minute. The pill isn't the only form of antibiotic or against life. In fact, we're exposed to antibiotics everywhere. When you land on airplanes sometimes in Asia, they go up and down the aisle with an aerosol spray. That's antibiotic. Right? Definitely cover up as much as you can and try to breathe into something for at least 10 minutes, but you know it's there in the cabin. The hand wash that you go in the bathroom and pump, right? Anything that's super foamy and blue or pink in color, guess what? That's antibiotic. It takes 26 seconds for something to perforate through your skin layer and go directly into your bloodstream. Antibiotics to the extent of your soaps or your shampoos or your face wash. A lot of these chemicals that we're using today, they act as killing off life, antibiotic. Most pharmaceutical medications also create an acidic environment. Remember we talked about acidity, alkalinity this morning? Disease exists in acidity, health exists in
Alkaline.
super simple, alkalinity. So if pharmaceutical medications make us more acidic, actually that acidic environment is a little bit like the barren cabbage field. Things won't grow. The soil itself, in the first 9 inches of topsoil, that's where we find the biota, the microbiota, the probiotics of the earth body. But just like us today, the earth body, she is pretty devoid of the probiotic, of the good bacteria, which are called soil-based organisms. And we used to have that because we used to eat food like from the earth, and so the dirt would come through our digestive tract, and that's how we would get a lot of good probiotics. And so if you're shopping for a probiotic or you're trying to buy them, soil-based organisms, SBOs, the reproduction of soil-based probiotics rather than a laboratory manufactured bacterial strain, which has no guarantee that it will set in the body. Does that make sense? So different pills.
Yakult and stuff. You know, Yakult, they say it's
probiotic.
probiotic.
Yeah,
Does it
yeah.
actually work? Or?
Well, so then we get to what we talked about yesterday. Do you remember the discussion about food probiotics? Yeah, so that would be a food-based probiotics, but it's still made industrially. It's still made in the laboratory, and it's from cow's milk. And so what was the alternative that we talked about that you said you could get a...
Kimchi, sauerkraut.
And, you remember?
Kombucha.
Coconut yogurt.
Coconut yogurt.
Yeah, so at
Kombucha.
Birdsong Cafe in Mumbai, you can get that.
I think we should all feast breakfast there together.
I think we should. I think tomorrow.
Okay, on Wednesday, I'm gonna stop with you.
Monday, on Monday. Wednesday,
Yeah,
done.
Monday.
Let's go Wednesday.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
Wednesday for us, you got used to it. On
We
Monday.
should all go.
Monday for us.
No, I was serious. Wait a few days after you